all my friends and family, and welcome to Jim's 5am Club. I'm coming to you from Wynyard Station, just about to board the train to go to Circular Quay.
The train on platform 6 goes to
5:30.
Doors closing. Please stand clear.
It's 5:30 in the morning,
Please stand
and heading off to work. And I thought I'd pump out another Jim's 5am Club. I'm very, very pleased to announce that yesterday I achieved a huge milestone in Jim's 5am Club with the episode 725, because 725 is a magic number for me, and the reason why it's a magic number is that 725 were the number of fables that Aesop, the famous storyteller of ancient times, was said to have amassed over his lifetime. And to think that within 9 months, using the technology of 2021, that I am able to deliver 725 logs to an audience across the world, to a virtual audience, is just a remarkable feat, which makes me very, very proud and very, very happy. And I recommend to all young people, doesn't matter how young you are, to start vlogging, start capturing your knowledge, your observations, and start publishing your material as early as you can and as often as you can. Anyway, today's book summary is entitled The Passion Paradox, by authors, a dual authorship of Brad Stulberg and Steve Magness. And this book is all about understanding your passions and how you may never find what ultimately makes you happy, and can lead to frustration and disappointment throughout one's life. So the key lesson from this book is that you need to learn to love what you do, rather than to spend your life trying to find that magic bullet or that magic passion, because it could be an elusive dream and an elusive sort of path. Anyway, just jumping off the train here at Circular Quay, and as I say time and time again, where else in the world can you step off a train and be presented with this beauty, this amazing beauty called Circular Quay? Circular Quay train station is a public space which brings you out onto a balcony which overlooks the wharves, Circular Quay, where you've got uninterrupted views of the Opera House, the Harbour Bridge, and all of the ferries and wharves. As you can see, there's a gentle breeze blowing this morning. I look up into the sky, I can see a couple of stars, but I can just see a little bit of cloud there on the horizon. And we'll say farewell to this train this morning as it heads off to Lidcombe, and I'll start moving as well and kick off this 5am Club. So the first point to come out of this book from this wonderful author, or these two authors, is that we need to pursue our passions, but to understand that by pursuing our passions, it's a risky business, because it requires a lot of self-awareness. Because once you pursue your passion, you'll become oblivious to everything else in your life, which will lead to a sense of neglect and a sense of imbalance. Anyway, let's keep on going and keep on chatting. I was very interested to read that Mahatma Gandhi, that great leader, that absolutely outstanding leader, had a troubled relationship with his son, even though he's renowned and known throughout the world for his outstanding leadership and vision. The mere fact that because he pursued his single focus, his single passion throughout his life, meant that he was going to be surrounded by a litany of failures, which basically come about. All of us, every person is surrounded by failures once they have a single focus and a passion that they pursue throughout their lives, because you can't be all things to everybody, you can't be all things to all things, and sooner or later, by following and having a passion, you're going to have an unbalanced life with sacrifice and suffering and implied outcomes. So there you go. What a lesson, what a profound lesson that is. That the bottom line is that regardless of what you do in life, if you want to become great at any particular thing, means that you're going to be average or a failure at many other things. Which brings into question, do we want to follow our passions, or do we just want to accept life as it is and just learn to be good and appreciate the things that we're doing, rather than to try and be too scientific and too bold with all the things we want to do? Because following a passion, following a dream, doing all of those things that we talk about means that eventually we're going to end up becoming a slave to that passion. And another point which is interesting as well is that we also become slaves to external validation. Now, how often are we caught in that trap with social media, where you spend your time doing the things that you're passionate about, and posting about certain things and building a group following, and then before you know it, you become a slave to the external validation and the urge to being appreciated all the time for what you do, which has its problems, has its challenges. And if you don't get the likes from certain people or certain people in your audience, then it can lead to fretting, can lead to disappointment, and it can lead to problems. So I guess the lesson to everybody is to be careful with what you wish for, with the passions that you follow, because it can lead to troubling times. And it's like a drug, I guess, that you have a need for constant reinforcement and appreciation. And I'll just stop here for a second, just to stand under the light to read my notes. So the second point that came out of this book here is that there is a biological mechanism behind passions, which ties it to a type of addiction, because there are neurochemical processes behind a passion, as it triggers dopamine production, which has both positive and negative consequences. Because dopamine, for those of us who are aware of it, is a chemical substance produced in our brains that pushes us towards our goals and makes us chase rewards. But the problem the problem with the dopamine production, or the excess of dopamine production, is that it's got advantages and disadvantages. The biggest problem of all is that once you start triggering dopamine, and once you start achieving goals, and it triggers more and more dopamine, your dopamine resistance drops, and we are forced to choose bigger goals and in order to get the same hit. So it's very, very similar, very, very similar indeed to a drug addiction, where you just need to do more and more of it to get a bigger and bigger hit in order to feel the same satisfaction. So you become a dopamine junkie, you become a goal junkie, you become a passion junkie if you're not mindful of it. But if you understand that that's part of the process, if you understand that that's what's happening, then at least you know what to look out for and how to manage it. But as we said, you start, you achieve, you get a dopamine hit. Then in order to get the same sort of hit or the same sort of pleasure, you need to go bigger and bolder, and bigger and bolder and bigger and bolder, which leads to challenges. So let's move on to the third point to come out of this wonderful book. And it's all about trying to develop healthy passions. Healthy passions come from the pleasure of improving yourself, but it needs to be at the avoidance of becoming obsessed with those pleasures, because we can get carried away. I guess the point which comes out of this book in terms of chasing the passions and chasing pleasure. So I'll just keep on going over here because I'm in the dark at the moment, but it is a very beautiful still morning. We've got the morning light starting to develop over there just behind the magnificent Opera House. So the last points to come out of this book here is another interesting one, because I've never come across this term before, but the ancient Greeks had a term for this, and it was called eudaimonia, the thirst for continuous self-improvement, which leads to happiness, and to try and shy away from the instant gratification. So I guess one of the wonderful things that I love about my Greek culture is that the Greek culture goes back thousands and thousands of years, and the Greeks, to their credit, were able to at least document and discuss and evolve ideas during a period of brilliance, during the golden ages there, where many fathers of many subjects were born and came into glory, I guess is one way of putting it. But just to think that they were talking and they were thinking about these things 2,500 years ago is just mind-boggling. Anyway, so let's finish off this wonderful book that I've kicked off today, called The Passion Paradox, and to understand that you can spend your life trying to find happiness through a passion, but you may end up being unhappy because you're unable to find and to live that passion that you're chasing. But the author gives us a very powerful lesson that sometimes the best thing to do is just to learn to love whatever you're doing. Because once you learn to love whatever you're doing and you accept it and you become part of it, then that can become your passion. But it can become your passion without damaging you and damaging all of those around you. Because I must admit, I was a little bit shocked. I was a little bit concerned about what I read about Gandhi, because he's a great leader. He's renowned for being a great leader. But to think that his passion became his downfall, given that he wasn't able to connect properly with his son and his family and other people around him, because he was consumed by his passion, is a warning to all of us to at least try and live a balanced life and not to become too caught up in the vortex of our passions, because on the one hand it may lead us to self-fulfillment, but it may also create great destruction and pain and suffering to those around us. And you see it all the time, I've got lots of friends who have been CEOs and leaders in their field, and you look back and yes, they've got a number of significant achievements in their life, but my God, they've also got a number of problems and challenges and a path of destruction in terms of broken relationships, messed up childhoods, and other things that are part of their definition. So let's finish off with a positive affirmation on this beautiful Thursday. We're coming to the middle of February. Before we know it, autumn will be in the air. I can just feel it, a bit of chill in the air already. But let's finish off with a positive affirmation. I'm alive, I am well, and I feel absolutely great. To my friends and family, stay connected, stay relevant, and most importantly, let's take some lessons from this book, The Passion Paradox, and learn to love the things that we do and to try and bring balance into our life, because an imbalanced life is not a good life either, because it will come with sacrifice and suffering, not only to you but also to those around you. So take care, everybody. Have a good rest of the day, and I appreciate you joining me on this 726th version of Jim's 5am Club. Yassas, take care, and bye for now.